Hello and welcome to another Business English Conversation video lesson. I'm George Hogue, and today I'm going to continue talking about this myth of the educated manager. I think we've kind of come to the conclusion that experience plays a very great part in how good or how effective a manager is. And there's another piece I want to insert in there today, and that is the piece of natural management style. Management is a highly individualized art. It's an art. It's not a science. It's an art. And it's very individualized. And there is no one best way to manage. No matter what they tell you, no matter what the schools say, what the books say, there is no one best way to manage. People have to discover for themselves how to manage. They need to learn to manage in a way that's consistent with their unique personality. Highly individual. Individuals are managers. Managers are individuals. And we all have different personalities. And I would submit to you that if a manager tries to manage in an artificial style, something that's contrary to their natural personality, they are going to be ineffective and they're going to be distrusted. Now, I was going to say here's the sad thing, but it's not sad because I don't think it's possible. That it's rarely taught in schools, business schools, management schools. Rarely are people taught how to manage in ways that are consistent with their personality. The basic concept of management training is get the highest productivity with the lowest cost and the best performance. That makes sense. That's what management's all about. But we're all different. We all do it differently. You can't do it the way I would do it. I can't do it the way you would do it. You can't do it the way your manager does it. Your manager couldn't possibly do it the way you could do it. We're all individuals. Another thing that is not taught in the management schools is taking action and accepting the responsibility and the consequences of those actions. That's not a part of formal education. That's a personality issue there. So I'll say again, experience. Effective managers become effective managers by learning through their experiences and acting properly on those experiences. Now, in the next lesson, I'm going to talk about the characteristics that are needed to be an effective manager. But let me just kind of tease you a little bit with some things to think about in the meantime. Managers aren't born. Leaders aren't born. And the simple fact is there are very few people who become or develop into effective managers or effective executives. People aren't born that way. People are born with a personality that may make it easier to become effective, but you still have to learn how. And you can't learn it all in school. There's an experience factor needed there. I mean, what does it take to be a manager? What do managers do? What I think it takes, one of the key elements, communication skills. The ability to communicate. Ability to communicate with people that work for them, with their peer managers, with the managers above them, executives. Communication is one of the biggest, most important issues in business. It always has been and it always will be. That's why I get a little upset with all of this email and texting stuff. That's not communication. communication is face-to-face. That's the way to communicate. That's the most effective way, let's put it that way. How about business knowledge? Don't you think it's helpful if a manager has an overall knowledge and understanding of business in general, as well as business specific to the company, the organization that they're working for, or you're working for? How about the selection process? Effective managers are very good at selecting the proper people with the proper skills to help them accomplish their predetermined objectives. Effective managers are also effective evaluators. They recognize and know how to evaluate good performance. They recognize and know how to evaluate poor performance. And they know what to do about it. They know what kind of rewards and consequences go with both sides of that fence. Effective managers are coaches. If you follow any sport at all, I don't care what it is, you know who the good coaches are. You know who the poor coaches are. Or let me rephrase that. The effective coaches and the ineffective coaches. The ones that get the most out of their team. The one who keeps their team together. Headed in the right direction and accomplishing their goals. That's all a manager is. A coach. Good managers are good decision makers. Or, taking a step further, good managers aren't afraid to make a decision. And they're willing to accept the consequences, good or bad, for their decisions. And they stick by their decisions. They don't decide one way when they're talking to you and another way when they're talking to me. It's one way. Good managers are excellent delegators. Good managers don't do the job. They delegate the assignments out to the people that work for them. And then they coach them and they communicate and they evaluate. Earlier video lesson I said we talked about change. The fact that it's inevitable. It's going to happen. It is going to happen. Might as well get ready for it. Effective managers know how to manage change. Effective managers are effective in the area of motivation. They recognize what motivates people, whether it's self-motivation or it's a little prodding, if you will, by the manager. Good manager doesn't go by the book on that one because that's an individual situation. What motivates you doesn't motivate me. And what motivates me may not make sense to you, but it doesn't have to. If I'm the manager and I'm trying to motivate you or see what motivates you, it may not make sense, but I don't care. If that's what motivates you, then I'm going to work towards that motivation. Good managers, like good coaches, are good trainers. They see to it that people are trained to do the job. They don't just hand them off to somebody and then walk away. Say, you train them. They may hand them off to somebody, training organization, a peer employee, another manager, but they follow up. They check to see what the employee's learning and if they're learning it the way they should. Effective managers are leaders. Effective managers are the kind of people that we like to follow. Finally, 3 other things. Effective managers are good problem solvers. Effective managers solve problems. Effective managers are good problem identifiers. They identify what needs to be solved. Everything doesn't need to be solved. There's a priority list. Good managers, effective managers, identify the things to be solved, the problems to be solved. And an effective manager is effective problem preventer. They know how to put in place programs, directions, policies, practices to avoid problems. And on our next lesson, I'm going to answer a question. I'm going to tell you what the question is, by the way. The question is, what are the characteristics of effective managers? What are the specific characteristics? Well, I'm going to give you a little hint. It comes in 3 pieces, 3 ingredients. Number 1, the need to manage. Number 2, the need for power. Number 3, the capacity for empathy. I want you to think about those 3 things, because that's what I'm going to talk about next time. So long, till next time.